single person that's happy to pull up to the pump right now and put $6 diesel on their truck.
Right.
You know, and here's the thing. The guys that are complaining about it, Chaz, the guys that work on these teams, not a one of them, the money comes out of their pocket, okay? Not a one of them. But they also know that they have to look out for their car owner when it comes to the financial side of it, or one, they don't have a job, or they don't have a race team.
Right.
So kudos to those guys for looking after the people they work for and the people that provide these race teams for everybody.
Well, you talked about expenses just a little bit there. It seemed like there was a little bit of a, not necessarily backlash, but as far as saving teams and all that, like some rules, like the fire suppression deal. I believe that's with anybody who's going to run with the Outlaws now has to have a full-blown suppression system.
Yeah, that is true. And they honestly didn't really address it until Charlotte, how they're going to do it. There's, my guys have got one of the fire suppression systems mounted in the car the way the Outlaws say. They sent me a picture of it. There was no seat and driveline in the car, so they could get it mounted. And I said, well, I guess we're good to go now. We just got to figure out where we're going to mount the seat and put the driveline in it. And he said, well, which one do you want, the seat and the driveline or the fire suppression? So, look.
And those things aren't cheap, correct? Those aren't cheap.
They're not cheap. They're not cheap. We're gonna make it work, okay? We're gonna make the fire suppression work, but it isn't the answer, and I'm gonna tell you why. Where's the fire gonna be on my car, Chaz? Where's it gonna be? You don't know.
Fire is unpredictable.
Paul McMahon's fire was in the tank. Another fire was on the pump. Another fire was in the engine compartment. I mean, where is the fire going to be? It's not going to be in the same place twice. There's liquids all over the car that are combustible. So to sit there and say you're going to have a fire suppression system with one nozzle spraying here, because that's the most likely place it's going to have to be a fire, you're spraying it on the fuel pump that's made out of billet aluminum with the best hose and fittings holding it on. It's like, makes no sense. But
do they have stock in the company making it, or what's going on?
No, they're obviously, they're clearly getting a kickback, I'm sure, but you know, I don't know what you say about it.
And any driver that wants to race with y'all has to have it now, correct? Like not just a weekly guy.
That's why you're not going to see many cars in the spring. It's going to become a rule problem. If we had 2 fire suppression systems go off at races this year at World of Outlaw events. One happened here in Fargo. When a kid hit the wall, the fire extinguisher went off, and they had to have a cleanup of the fire suppression material on the front stretch. So, look, late models have it. Late models got fenders and all kinds of places to put them to seclude them, and they spray on the driver, which is protected from everything in a cockpit, and then they have a nozzle on the fuel tank. We're in a completely different scenario. My fear is, all it's going to do is they're going to neglect safety at a lot of racetracks across the country. You know, it's a quick fix to saying we're doing something on the safe side. I don't know a sprint car driver that I race with that has ever come and said, man, I'm scared of fire. I'm afraid of what's going to happen. At the end of the day, we've seen tanks come off the cars. You hope they don't end up in the stands, but the worst thing that can happen is that tank full of fuel end up on the driver. But that doesn't mean that one nozzle in that little tank is going to do even anything. But, you know, some people preach it, and that's their opinion. I love living in this country where someone can have an opinion, and I don't have to have the same opinion. Let's just have a discussion about it. You know, we all have experiences that are different from others, so we'll see what happens with it. I mean, we've complied with it. It's in my cars, and I think there's bigger fish to fry and there's bigger problems in the world other than fire suppression systems.
Right. I guess rules could be an interesting topic. When is the last time the Outlaws sent in a tire sample?
I think they say they send them in, but they don't. And you know, at the end of the day, I don't.
These
know
are full-blown
really
go-karts. These are 900 horsepower go-karts, and go-kart racing is nothing but tire dope.
I know.
So
I know, Chaz, but here's the deal. The World of Outlaws isn't in the tire business. I'm not in the tire business. You know who's in the tire business? Hoosier. So if someone's going to regulate what happens with these tires, Hoosier's the one that knows what they're composed of, what they're supposed to be, what they're made of, not the series, not the drivers, not the teams. And I didn't realize that until we went to their facility and toured their facility years ago. They wanted us to come there and see how well they make the tires and the people that make them and give them a pat on the back, and we did. And Hoosier has a state-of-the-art chemistry lab, and before they pour any tire in any mold, any mixture, they can tell you if it's a bad batch of this, if it's a bad batch of that. And they don't run the stuff. They have the stuff to do it. So it's 2022, almost 2023. I can tell you what the pH is in my swimming pool from my telephone 10,000 miles from here. So why don't we have the tools in today's environment to be able to do that? But I don't operate a series. I have an opinion.
Well, a series is supposed to regulate fairness, and Hoosier can make a tire as good as they may want to make it, but we're more talking about what people do with that tire after Hoosier ships it out.
Yeah, I agree, and we know what's going on, but nothing ever gets done about it. So why worry about it? My dad always told me worry about what you can control. I can't control it, so I need to focus on something else.
Now, is there any tire testing? Has anybody done? Somebody was talking to me earlier today about you testing at Kokomo, leading to Charlotte. What is tire testing even a deal? Do teams take time to test tires or widths or sizes or just test days in general? What's that all about?
Tony tested at Kokomo.
Okay.
I think it was it before Charlotte or I don't remember if it was before Charlotte or after. Yeah, they have a. You can't really blame them. They want to try to continue to make a better product and make the racing better. And I guess they have some opinions on it, and they've made a couple tires. I know Tony went and tested for him at Kokomo. It's not like it's a secret. I wasn't there, but I know what he said, and but that doesn't mean that they're changing anything. It's just they have something that they were testing, but they also had non-wing cars there, and they had all kinds of stuff. So, they wouldn't be a professional tire company if they weren't trying to continually see and change things, and they've done that forever. From ever since I've been around this sport, they've tested and done certain things, and I'd say 99% of that stuff never actually seen the light of day on a racetrack, but I do know Tony tested for him.
Okay. So new mold, what's that maybe all about? A whole new tire for sprint car racing, or is it just some adjustments?
Well, it was obviously sprint car tires, but I don't know what they had that was different. That you'd have to ask Neil Kalman at Hoosier what they did different to the tire. Obviously, they have an opinion on wanting to make some changes, but they're not going to tell. The last person they're going to tell if they're going to go test is the driver, because they don't want him to have preconceived notions. So they won't tell you. You put them on the car, and you take the driver. You take the driver's feedback. That's what testing is. The driver doesn't need to know what it is or what they changed, because as much as we might think we're engineers, I'm the furthest thing from an engineer.
Right. Well, there's a lot of things that happen on an outlaw race and not outside of tires and fairness and rules and all that. I have heard some other people complain about we know how important qualifying is. Heard some people kind of rumbling, not real sure how credible, about how the live timing during qualifying can sometimes be faulty, maybe, or tampered with in some way. Is that possible?
I think anything computer related can have an issue. I don't think there's any question about that. I've been in trouble over this topic a few times. One that I can distinctly remember years ago, and I honestly haven't really brought it up since, but I remember being in New Egypt, New Jersey, and it's got to be at least 5 years, maybe 4 years, somewhere. Probably the last time we were there, or maybe the second. I ran 10th in the feature, and my best lap in the feature was a 9.91. And the guy that won the race's lap was a 14.03 something. So I did almost a 5-second quicker lap, and I ran 10th. So I said, I questioned the guy doing the timing and scoring. I said, well, how's this all about? And he's like, well, you can't manipulate it. I said, well, tell me how I did a 9.9. And, well, he got madder than hell. And in fact, I'm pretty sure I'm still on probation from it. But, and the guy happens to be a very good friend of ours. And, but I guess that's the nature of the beast. So can they make it look however they want? I think it's possible. Don't get me wrong. The digital timing and scoring is a real attribute to being able to control it. But I think sometimes a person gets so focused on looking at the screen and then they have this split yellow and all these things that sometimes you forget when you look up. I'm like, well, what lap was that? Was that 14, 13, 12, 15? I mean, there's a lot of variance in there. So it can be pretty confusing too. So I think for the most part, things are legit. But man, there's not a computer on this earth I don't think you can manipulate to do something. So.
This is how we ride. This is how we do. Riding mud, sliding up.